Hey, hi, ho, and howdy, everybody. My name is Shannon Shook, and today I'm thinking about talking about something just a little bit extra. Hey, hi, ho, and howdy, everybody. My name is Shannon Shook, and welcome to another version of RWBY Review Cap Extra, because I still haven't put out an episode of regular Review Cap, and we're even farther behind now because this is coming out when episode 13 is out for first members. Though actually, I think it's Tuesday, so it just came out for free on the site. If you haven't seen that video, if you haven't seen the episode, dear God, go watch it, because it's fantastic. Anyway, this video is going to be me quickly going over Volume 5, Episode 6, Known by Its Song. I do apologize once again for taking a little bit of a break. Just 100% honest with you, I lost motivation and drive that comes from being who I am. I'm really bad with procrastination. If you haven't noticed from everything else, that obviously points to that being the issue. But anyway, here I thought it would be a good idea to talk. We're damn near at the end of the season, and I figured it'd be best to actually get caught up again. And yeah, I'm sure there's other reasons too, but that's definitely the biggest one. Anyway, so yeah, no, we're here to talk about Known by Its Song. For me, I really enjoyed this episode. It's been a moment since I've seen it. I watched it the other day with my stepbrother. I was doing my best to get him caught up. He's still behind a couple episodes, but we're getting there. But anyway, so it's been a teensy bit since I've seen the episode, so my recollection isn't going to be 100%. But for the most part, I think I'll have it down to what we need. Anyway, so this episode is basically broken up into two major parts, and that is Crow and the gang, more specifically just Crow, for the most part, and Raven, Yang, Weiss, and Vernal at the tribe. They're chatting. If you remember correctly, we left off back there with them going off to go talk to Raven about how it really is, what's really due, and now we're going to do that. But first of all, let's talk about the first section, being Crow and the Munchkins. Very specifically Crow, because in the beginning of the episode, we enter this, I believe it's a ramen shop is what it is. That's what it kind of looked like, and that's what I thought I heard that it was. It's like a ramen shop, and there's just this old, grouchy-looking dude that's whittling his own bowls. Because that's what you do as a ramen shop owner. Don't you do this? Oh, ramen shop owners of the world? But anyway, yeah, so he's there. Crow walks in with one of my favorite shots of all time when it comes to movies and TV and stuff like that, is shots of people's shoes when they walk in or walk out of something. For whatever reason, it's not like I don't have like a foot fetish or anything, unless it's in film and it's like a nice shoe. For whatever reason, I always like that. Like someone pulls up in a car, opens the door, and then boom, you see their foot step out, and you're like, oh, shit's about to go down for whatever reason. For whatever reason, I really like that. Anyway, that's not the point, you fool. Anyway, if you remember correctly, in a previous episode, Crow mentions how he's going to go round up Huntsman and Huntresses to join them in their eventual attack, confrontation thing on Raven's tribe in order to get the Spring Maiden back on their hands. And so Crow's on this adventure to go and get Huntsman and Huntresses, and he goes to the ramen shop and talks to the guy and is like, hey, I'm looking for Shiro One. You know this guy? You know this fucking guy named Shiro One? And basically it comes down to a little confrontation between the two of them, because the ramen shop owner hates Shiro because he's an idiot who owes him a lot of money, and then it doesn't go well for Crow is all I'm saying. He gets fucking kicked out, damn near stabbed in the goddamn face, and yup. And then after that, Crow finds himself going all through Mistral trying to find all these Huntsman Huntresses, visiting a lot of very similar looking street corners and getting progressively more and more upset. In the end, he ends up going to a small, really kind of worn down hut, and knocks on the door. This man answers, and he basically comes like, "Hey, I'm looking for Heather Shields. You know who Heather Shields is? My day. I've had a rough day, I got a bad day today. Where's Heather Shields?" Because that's how Crow talks. That's Vic. I demand to see this accent next season. As long as Crow's still alive next season. I don't know. There's still an episode left. I can't speak for any of the episodes that come after this point because of spoilers, so I'm gonna leave it there. Anyway, point is, he goes ask for Heather Shields, and then it's actually this really kind of sad and kind of heartbreaking scene between the two of them and the man's daughter, who walks up and is like, "Hey, has he seen where Bobby is?" And then, of course, everyone goes, "Heather's dead." It's a pretty rough scene. I thought that it was done really well. There's not much more to say than that. I really liked it. It was kind of heartbreaking. It's one of those things you don't always think about, but there are people with their families when they're dead. They're leaving them all behind. It's kind of the whole point of the RWBY summer relationship, really. The amount of times you can watch or listen to Red Like Roses Part 2 and just go like, "That's not fair. I'm so sad." And also be like, "This is fucking rad," because it's a good song. Anyway, so Crow eventually deals with that, and then I believe I can't remember it's right after that or later on in the episode, he goes off to go look at one of the mission boards in Mistral, basically going over. He's got a scrolling, swiping off names of all these people, and all these huntsmen and huntresses who are just unavailable or dead. And he goes on the mission board and keeps seeing all these things that are like, "Oh, this is a mission that failed. This is one that's been running for months. This is one that no one knows anything about." It's like, and it becomes very obvious that all of the huntsmen and huntresses are dead. And of course, Crow doesn't take that super well. Why would he? They're probably pretty cool people, at least most of them. Including Shiro's name is up on the board as well, and he takes note of that. And he ends up going back to the ramen shop and doing something which I actually really enjoy too. There's a surprising amount of heart in the little Crow section of this. Between the Heather Shields discussion with the baby child person and with the ramen shop owner, who he basically goes back, he's like, "How dare you come back in here again?" And he's like, "How much did Shiro owe you?" And he gives off a number and eventually pays. And it becomes increasingly clear to the guy that's like, oh, Shiro can't pay the debt anymore because he's dead. So Crow decided to do it for him. And it's kind of a heartbreaking scene. It's more depressing than it has any right to be for characters we don't know. Yeah, no, it's kind of rough, and it's a very good scene. I really enjoy that they put Crow's adventure looking for Huntsman in the show, because it was good. And then it kind of cuts away to other stuff in the rest of the episode. Though there is one thing in particular I really did want to talk about, because something I mentioned in a previous video that was like, it's a super important thing, but it's super, super small and stuff. Some people have been talking about for forever. And that's basically there's a small sign just outside the door of the ramen shop that says no faunus. There's like, no, we don't serve faunus here. Nope, get out. I don't want it. And it's when I first watched the episode, I can't remember if I saw it or not, but I know by the second time I did, and when I did, I realized that's something that people have been kind of begging for a very long time. One of the single biggest criticisms of very specifically the Faunus and the White Fang in RWBY is and just kind of the show in general is the show don't tell aspect of it. There's a lot of telling, not always so much show, which doesn't bother me too much, but I do understand where people are coming from with that. And it basically comes down to forever you get told about the divide between humans and faunus, and you don't always get to see it. I mean, you get to see the reaction to it. You get to see Adam and the White Fang being a bunch of fucking assholes, but you don't always get to see why. I mean, really not. Like, occasionally you'll get some stuff, but even, like, say Jacques in the scene in the previous season where he's talking shit with his fucking business pals, even then he doesn't mention the faunus. He says some fucked up shit about Mantle, and the workers in there, which you could assume probably a decent amount of them are faunus, but it's not. It doesn't always get shown why it's so problematic for the faunus, and I can understand, I can sympathize with why that bugs people sometimes. It was like, oh yeah, there's all this fighting, but why though? You get told a lot about how there's this discrimination and there's the divide between, but you don't always see it. And I think that's one of the biggest things about this episode, is there is that one little thing, is you just see that little sign that says no fauna, so you're like, oh, that's fucked up. That's something people would get upset about. Oh, yeah, no, we don't serve your kind here, boy. And it's like, it's, number one, you're a ramen shop. Fuck you if you don't serve everybody on the planet, because ramen's amazing, and how dare you. Number two, I think it was a really good touch, and I don't actually know how many people caught notice of it, but I think it's a very good touch, and it was I really liked it. Again, despite being someone who doesn't give a shit too much, someone who's often like, who doesn't need that kind of detail, but whenever I take notice of it, I'm like, that's a nice touch. I like that. I like that you went out there and surprised me or impressed me with something extra. You know, that's the way I kind of view a lot of things in this world. I'll applaud the extra. Don't necessarily shit all over when you don't get it. So you know, I thought it was a good touch. And I believe that would be something that other people dug as well. Anyway. Besides that, though, I'm going to jump away from Crow for a minute, because the last section does involve Crow as well, but it involves other stuff, so we're gonna go into Raven's section here. And Raven, and again, this takes place between Raven, Vernal, Weiss, and Yang, and they're all in Raven's tent in the camp, and they're all basically, it's basically just Raven giving a general recounting of the information we know, you know, Salem, the fact that exists, shit like that. Admittedly, she doesn't go too much into detail, but yeah. And in fact, that's actually something, she doesn't go in fucking damn near any detail, because Raven's fucking cryptic and irritating sometimes. I love Raven, but she's irritating sometimes. But anyway, yeah, she basically explains that to them. They're all like, "The fuck? It's a crazy human grim lady, what?" And then there's some back and forth about between Raven and Yang. Understandably, Yang punching through tables and getting pissed because of Raven's abandonment. And basically, in the end, it basically comes down to a little bit of fighting between them. The discussion that, yeah, magic and, like, oh, people coming back to life and shit. And basically saying that, you know, Ozpin just can't be trusted. You know, like, he's an uncool dude. I bet you he never told you about what he did to me and my brother. Which basically, if as it gets shown in just a little bit, but as we know as people, like, oh, yeah, Raven and Crow can turn into birds. Which is what she's talking about. So they basically all go outside, and she ends up showing that off to them. And they're all like, "The fuck is that about? You can turn into the birds, caw." And they're like, "Yeah, I can do that." And basically, it ends up with her opening a portal to Crow and being like, "Hey, yeah, I mean, you could stay here and I could tell you everything there is to know. But knowing me, I probably wouldn't anyway, because I'm fucking Raven." Or she's like, "Yeah, no, you could talk to Crow, and sure, we'll see where that gets you." And eventually they do decide to go with going with Crow. So yeah, and that eventually leads to the separation of those and the regrouping of everybody else. The only thing that I think is really worth talking about in here is, again, Raven is very... she talks a lot of shit, but she's very reluctant to ever give any information away. And it's kind of irritating. It's kind of irritating. She's... God damn it, Raven. But, you know, it's that thing. And it's something people also talked about is the problem... Raven is very shitty about the fact that she can turn into a bird magically, which not everyone really gets. There's potentially more to it, but she refuses to ever explain shit, so you don't really know. But from the outside viewer, it's not hard to be like, it's not hard to understand why the outside viewer might be like, wait, so the reason you're shitty about him... And, like, you're like, oh, he did this fucked up thing to us. He gave us the ability to magically transform into other creatures and fly across the... Like, it's like, bitch, can you imagine how much everybody else on the planet would want what you have? And it's I don't know, it's an interesting thing, and I definitely understand where some people are coming from. Like, bitch, what are you talking about? Though there's potentially more to that. But, you know, purely from the bird thing... I admittedly, I don't get it either. Raven, calm down. Your brother's okay with it. Why can't you be okay with it? But anyway, you know, so they get separated, with Yang giving one last fuck you to her mom. I would say it's kind of deserved. Also, with Weiss riding so adorably on Yang's bike with her, and I ship it. I don't, but I do, and... my dreams. But anyway, you know, they go through, and then it cuts to Crow on a balcony, basically going like, dude, what the fuck? How is everyone dead? I just don't understand why everybody be dead. And then the portal opens. He's like, what the fuck? Oh, sis, I wasn't touching my dick. And then he basically realizes that it's Yang and Weiss, and he's like, oh, fuck, that was not who I was expecting. And then we cut to back in the house place, where everybody's cooking up a nice meal. Nora's over there cutting up some carrots, munching down on them because she's a fat bitch, but not really. I have some questions, girl, because I've seen Chibi. All I know is I need to know what you're doing without all that food, and I need you to tell me how I can do that. Basically, she's cooking food, Ruby and Ren are doing it too. Oscar's off fucking jerking off in the corner. I don't... Who the fuck knows where he is? Basically, they're all sitting there cooking, and Crow shows back up. They're all basically cooking because they want to have a big kind of celebration and get together with all the Huntsmen that Crow's going to bring back that definitely aren't all murdered. But anyway, you know, they're cooking, having a little back and forth. Ruby's burning food and shit. And that's always great. But basically, Crow comes back and he's like, hey, you should really fucking get in here because I got something to show you. And she does. She goes and takes the tray and is like, oh, yeah, no, I got... And then drops the tray, shatters when she realizes that Yang and Weiss are there. And that leads to, of course, finally the reunion between 3 of the 4 members of Team RWBY. The reunion of Weiss, Yang, and Ruby all together. And I'm not gonna lie, I could probably cry and tear up and went into the fetal position again. You know, it was really nice. It was a good scene. I especially liked number one, I especially liked that Ruby finally got a reciprocated "I love you" from Yang after 2 volumes. Because her "I love you" in volume 3 is so heartbreaking. Because Yang just completely ignores her, and it's really depressing. So when they finally met up again, and she's all like, "I love you," it was really good. And then of course how Weiss is just sitting in the corner like, "Oh well, that's great for them." And then they're like, "Get the fuck over here, Ice Queen! What you doing, girl?" And then everyone's back together again, and it's great. And everybody's sitting around and looking at him like, "That's great." John's like, "Yeah, it's so good to see you guys back together. If only we could make my girlfriend not be dead anymore, that'd be fucking dandy. Yeah, no. Anyway, that basically rounds out the episode. Is we finally have the reuniting of RWBY. Yep, that's how it do. Or unless if it's like highway is shortened to HWY, is RWBY Ryway. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, no. In all, I really liked this episode. It was a good one. I wish we had gotten more from Raven, but I get it. She's a fucking, she's a goddamn frustration sometimes. But anyway, it was very cool. It was a good episode. It's finally nice to have at least 3 of the 4 members of RWBY all back together again, and it's one of those things where I really, it's definitely a step in the right direction. Everything's getting back together. It's getting so good. So, that's good. I always like that. Fucking great. Anyway, I think that's really all I have to say on this episode. I'm going to do my best to see if I can get another couple of these recorded tonight. We shall see. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, if you guys think that I did all right, if you guys would like to see more of this kind of thing, or hear it, because a lot more of this is hearing than seeing, then by all means, go ahead and double hit the like button. Be sure to comment down below if there's anything you'd like to add on the episode, if you have anything you'd like to talk about, anything that I mentioned, or anything like that. By all means, I really appreciate it. If you can share it, that's helpful, because that means someone will be able to see the fucking video. YouTube. God damn it. Anyway, so if you can do those kinds of things, I'd always appreciate it. And subscribing is always also very, very fucking appreciated. Lets you keep up to date with things that I do here. Also, keep up to date with the things that I do here. Oh, you mean the thing that you don't fucking do? I appreciate it. Really, really helpful, and considering the state of things right now, kind of very helpful. Just keep moving the goalpost farther and farther back. They're just like, oh, you thought you were doing okay? You're not. God damn it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next video where I talk about Chapter 7. Until then, though, I will see you guys in the next video. Tools, duels, and lemons. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's so good to see you guys back together. If only we could make my girlfriend not be dead anymore, that'd be fucking dandy.